Alrighty, what is up, y'all? Spencer K here. We are back for a new type of video. This is brand new. We are pushing my comfort zone, pushing my boundaries here. I'm going to be getting into game reviews. To put it simply, this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. This is something I've already attempted in the past with some Call of Duties and whatnot, but I never really stuck with it. I never gave it a whole lot of effort, but I love doing it. And I was going to kind of explain why I want to do it a little bit more, how I'm going to do it. Just kind of explain everything before I just hop right into game reviews, because obviously I've never really done them a whole lot. So if I just start cold turkey uploading them, some people are going to be like, what are you doing? I'm going to be doing solo reviews here on my channel, as well as I'm going to be teaming up with a lot of my friends and friends of friends. A good group of people is how I would put it, over at TK Gaming. TK Gaming, Team Kill Gaming, is a group that I started with a lot of my friends, and it has grown into a little bit of content creation, and we're going to try to do reviews. We're just getting it started. We're learning a lot. There's a lot to do still. But the big thing with game reviews is I have to earn trust. I feel like that's going to be the big thing. To put it bluntly, before I get into anything else, don't take anything I say to the bank. Let me earn this. I want to be unbiased. I want to do this. I want to earn your trust so that when I say, hey, this game is worth $60, I want you to be like, you know what, I believe them. I don't want to be that guy. It's like, oh, it's a new $70 game. Go buy it. You have to buy it. You have to buy it. And then you buy it and you hate me and you hate everyone because the game sucks. I don't want that. I'm going to try to be as honest. Like, would I spend my money on it? Would I gift it to a friend? I'm going to kind of take that mentality into my reviews. But getting into why I want to do reviews, I'm a collector. I have over 2,500 physical copies of video games across 30 different consoles, like 30 different platforms, PS1 through 5, all the Xboxes. I have a ton of handheld. PC, I have so much when it comes to video games, over 2,500 physical copies. Doesn't include digital. I say physical copies is a 2,500. I have probably hundreds, if not at least 1,000 more digital copies of games across all of my platforms. Gaming's been a huge part of my life. I talked about it. We're starting a TK podcast as well over on the TK channel, and I talked about my history with gaming, but I've been on and off gaming ever since 2005 when I first got my GameCube, my PS1, and my Game Boy Advanced SP. But I didn't really start heavily gaming until I was 13 in about 2012. But everyone in my life knows since about 2012, gaming has been probably one of the most consistent in my life. I've spent a lot of time as a teenager gaming, almost too much time. I've done more all-nighters than I care to count. And even now to this day, right, I'm still a collector. I still have over 2,500 physical copies of games. Can't stress that enough. My game room is absolutely decked out. I have like 16 totes when I moved from my apartment to my new house. I had like over 16 totes of just video games. That is absolutely absurd. Most people don't have 16 totes when they move with just clothes and all their utensils and dishware and stuff. I'm a monster. So I love gaming. I have a deep connection with gaming. But what really sparked game reviews in particular is just the fact that I think modern day game reviews absolutely suck. I don't want to say any names in particular, but there are multiple platforms, companies, reviewers, whatever you want to call them, that are just god-awful. Just between being bipolar, inconsistent, a lot of them are pushing political messages nowadays. Like, they don't review the game, they review what they want about the game. Oh, this is a Gooner game. What does that have to do with the game? Like, honest to God, I just question. Is the game bad? What is a Gooner game even? How is that bad? They treat it like it's bad. They get mad. I'm going to get into it, I think, in future episodes, but there's one in particular. There's one game they're like, oh, 30 FPS, gives me a headache, I hate it, this game sucks. And then there's another game, they're like, dude, we should do 30 FPS more. This is awesome. Why did gaming go to 60? Like, they're almost trolling. Once again, I don't want to say the name. I'll probably do it in a video in the future, but it gets my blood boiling. I want to be that unbiased middle ground reviewer. Once again, I have to gain trust, so I can talk a big game here, but it means nothing until I actually put my money where my mouth is here, and I make some good reviews. That basically covers why I want to do game reviews. I'm a collector. It gets my blood boiling when I read these reviews online, all the drama on Twitter and X and Instagram and all this crap with games. But let's talk about how I'm going to be doing my game reviews. So first things first, I have to cover the basics of each game to the best of my ability. I'm going to put the time I played in the game, percentage I completed, the amount of achievements I got, really anything that contribute and show you how much time did I put in this game. I feel like another gripe I have with reviewers or mainstream reviewers is, you know, they're like, oh, I played this game for 30 minutes and here's how I felt. Or, you know, they never beat the game. They never go for the achievements. They never try to 100% it. They never try to go the extra mile. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to 100% every single game or 120% every single game. I'm not. I feel like most people don't do that. They play it to their satisfaction level, right? You play it until you feel like this is peak satisfaction. Anything else from here is a punishment. I'm not saying I'm going to only complete, you know, 40% of the game and call it, but I'm not going to go in every single Ubisoft game and find every single collectible item because it's a punishment. We'll play the game, beat the story, do as many side missions and everything as we can. Try to get the full extent to the game to where I would feel comfortable providing a review. With that, it's going to be a 1 to 10 scale. I'm not going to say it's going to be the Dave Portnoy scale, but it's kind of a mix between that scale and a lot of other scales. So I feel like a good way to put it is the Richter scale, actually. Maybe not the Dave Portnoy pizza review scale. I have some gripes about that. I trust his reviews when it comes to pizza, but I would say the Richter scale is probably a more consistent scale to go off of. Where a 6.5 and a 7.0 is a very large difference. I feel like in gaming, people are just way too comfortable giving out 7.5s, 8, 8.5. I feel like a new game comes out, Ubisoft, 8.5, 8.5, 8.5. 8.5s are meaningless. These big companies will give out 9s like it's candy. Like, you just have to meet their little agenda. Not trying to get too political, but yeah, if you have a couple check boxes marked, you got a 9. Like, the game doesn't really necessarily matter in order to get a 9. I feel like a 9 is prestigious. I feel like not many games should get a 9. I feel like we're not handing out enough 4s. We're not handing out enough 4.5s, 5s, 5.5. Why are there just not games that low anymore? There are very, very, very few. And the games that are that low, you go and you play them and you're like, this isn't really a 5. Like, this is more of like a 7 to me. Like, I feel like the mainstream scales are just so off balance. It's more like drawing a number out of a hat. And the way I'm going to try to be more consistent is I went and created a dedicated review score sheet with all the possible rating categories listed. They're not all mandatory. You only have to select, or I only have to select the ones that I think will be applicable to the game being reviewed. There are extra blank sections to fill out for any missed or rarer categories. Sometimes games just have a category that it's so rare you're like, this deserves a score, but it's like, it's not in any other game, or it's very rare. And then at the end, all of the scores will be averaged to get the 1 through 10 number value. And the big thing that this does is it avoids making up random numbers. It should keep me somewhat consistent too. This scale is also being used for TK, so all the reviewers over at my TK group, friends group, they will be using this scale, and that should keep us somewhat consistent with each other. Obviously, we're all going to rate games a little bit differently, but if we use the same form, we can't just make up numbers. Another thing I'm going to do is game genres will only be compared to similar game genres, games, and studios. I'm not going to be comparing an FPS to satellite view like Civilization. I feel like if you are a tycoon game you just released and you are the greatest tycoon game of all time to this point, you deserve like a high 9. And people may see that, but it's compared to other tycoons, not to first-person shooters. Just because it's a 9 doesn't mean it's game of the year. It means when it's in all-encompassing tycoons, it is one of the best. I also think that the size of the companies and their budget will be considered. For example, AAA studios, AAA games should be held to a higher standard, while indie games should have a more individual experience or capability rating. If it's a company's very first game, this is like it. They've been working 7 years, they're in debt, putting 12-hour days in, and the game's decent, it deserves a higher score than a $600 million budgeted Ubisoft slop fest that's broken, incomplete. To me, that's night and day. I feel like a lot of people don't hold games to that standard. You should be rated on your capability. If you went above and beyond your capability, that should be taken into consideration. If you are one of the most fully capable companies in the world, like Ubisoft is when it comes to video games, and you are consistently providing slop, that should be taken into consideration. And I am absolutely going to consider that. And with that, previous success and failures should be considered. If this studio or company has been highly successful or in a slump, I think that should be noted. If they've been game of the year, game of the year, game of the year, and then they launch a game that barely sells 100,000 copies, I think that should be noted, because that marks, in some way, shape, or form, a failure in the game. What is wrong with this? Now, once again, intentions matter. If this is just supposed to be a quick little side project and it's not a major release, once again, consider that. Another thing I'm going to take into consideration is politics. They will not automatically be held against a game just because I disagree with it. And I'm not trying to get into the whole game of, oh, I agree with this politics, I disagree with these politics. But there are a lot of games in today's world that are highly motivated or designed based off of politics. They're not designed for the player. They're not designed for the fan base. They twist it into like this forced narrative. Now, I have a couple examples here. I don't want to get too far in depth with examples, But a very controversial opinion I had that a lot of my friends disagreed with is a game like Dustborn, which received a ton of backlash. While I don't think it was a great game, it wasn't designed for me, truthfully. I can sit here and say this game sucked, I hated the story, but it's not for me. This was an original idea created for a specific group of people, and they did enjoy the game. And for them, this game was going to have high ratings. For someone like me, this game wasn't made for me. I'm not going to like it. So truthfully, I shouldn't really rate it, but I should take all of that into consideration. Put my feet in their shoes and from their perspective, see how good of a game this is. Now, my counter argument is if Dustborn instead bought the IP of Guitar Hero and then decided to turn Guitar Hero into this whole political bus method while you're traveling the country and you're oppressed, I would hate that because it's not an original idea at that point. They are stealing an IP, a known IP such as Guitar Hero, and forcing their narrative upon it. Hate that. I would hate that. Dustborn, an original IP, original idea, did their own thing. I think that's good. Whether the game was good or bad, that's a whole nother conversation, but that is kind of what I want to distinguish when I do game reviews. I'm really hoping I'm explaining everything so far in a good way because this is exactly how I want to explain it in my game reviews. I want to explain them as if I'm explaining them to another version of myself who has never played this game, convincing my ignorant self to either buy this game or stay clear of it. If I could go back in time, tell myself to save my money, or yes, this is worth your money. But I do have to kind of ask everyone who watches my game reviews to kind of stay in your own shoes, if you would. Stay from your perspective. I'm going to explain games the best I can from my perspective, what I like about them, what I don't like about them. You need to kind of figure out what you like compared to me and make your assessment based off of my reaction, based off of my rating. For example, I do not like battle royales. I hate battle royales. With that said, if I ever go out and I find a battle royale where I'm like, this is it, this is the best battle royale ever, but you're a big battle royale fan, you should probably be like, well, this guy doesn't like battle royales. He may be onto something here. But if I negatively review a lot of battle royales, you got to be like, well, they're not just bad games, and I'm not going to try to make them, just slander them. I'm going to be honest, but from your own shoes, be like, well, they're probably not a terrible game. He just doesn't like battle royale. So that's kind of where you have to differentiate from your end. I'm going to do my best to explain it as passive and neutral as I can. This is kind of a really rough draft, basic version of how I want the 1 through 10 skill to work for me. 1 is a pure theft. If I give something a 1, it's probably a scam or just, it's probably a scam, to put it bluntly. If I give it a 2, it's an absolute waste of time. It may not be stealing, but it's pretty close. 3 is most likely possible regret. If you spend money on this game, you're probably going to be like, I would probably take it back if I could. A 4 is internet outage worthy. You haven't had internet in a couple of weeks. You were absolutely bored. This is the game you have downloaded and you're just trying to switch things up. That's probably going to be a 4. 5 is what you think it is. It's just average. It's going to be middle of the line. Nothing bad about it, but nothing great about it. It's just cookie cutter, as dead center as you can get. I'm going to make 6s backlog worthy. I think these are games that sit in backlogs for quite some time, but if you want to spice things up, you want to switch things up, or if you get the free time, I think this is going to be a game you absolutely dive into. 7s are solid games. There's nothing wrong with the 7. If a game receives a 7, it is something that I would highly recommend looking into if you are interested in finding a new game. 8s are going to be your must-play games. If something gets an 8 on my scale, I think this is something you absolutely have to plan to play at some time. Whether you wait for it to go on sale, that's one thing, but I think 8s are absolutely must-plays. 9s are going to be your Hall of Fame games. Like I said, I want 9s to mean something. If a game is a 9, that means it is a Hall of Fame game, and if you call yourself a gamer, you have played this game at some point. 10s are absolute perfection. I'm going to be honest. I can't think of many games I think will receive a 10. There's a couple that I think will receive 10s in their own categories, but obviously 10s are going to be like your game of the years. But with that kind of sums up how I'm going to do my reviews and what I wanted to talk about for me. I'm going to get into a little bit more with our TK gaming reviews as well now. So I think the first and most notable thing is everyone's to some extent going to be doing their own solo reviews. So everyone in TK gaming, I highly recommend checking out their channels because while I do some games, I may not do the same ones they are. So I would recommend bouncing around and just getting different perspectives on different games. However, we are going to do a group review every single month, hopefully starting soon. We've been kind of slack in the last couple of months. How the group reviews are going to work is we're all just going to kind of vote on a game or two, and everyone in the group is going to do their best to play that game or two and provide an unbiased review. And then we're going to take everyone who submitted a review and post their individual scores as well as the group score. And the reason I want to post both is because if one person absolutely hated the game and they tanked the score, they're going to see a group review and be like, why is this score so low? That's stupid. And then you'll see the individual reviews right next to it, and it's like, oh, it's because this guy did not like this game and essentially tanked the group review. However, all these other guys, they had better scores. I feel like that's something that could easily happen with group reviews, especially let's say it's a battle royale and I hate it. I give it a low score. Everyone else gives it fair, like not fair, but higher scores. My lower score may be fair from my perspective, but it will tank the group score and it'll just kind of create more flack for TK Gaming as a whole. They're going to be like, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing. No, it's just a combination of a bunch of diverse gamers. With that, I think our reviews will keep each other in check. Once again, just making sure someone can't just hate a game for no reason, throw in a crap score, and just tank the whole score. One thing to note, solo versus small verified group reviews, the benefits and detriments to both of these style of reviews. Good things about solo reviews, they are absolutely consistent. You'll probably get them more often and they're going to be more personal. I feel like you can relate to the reviewer a lot easier than just a group. Some bad things about solo reviews, there's probably going to be a little bit more bias and a little bit less variety. People are probably going to tend to stick with games they really do like, or they're looking forward to, or they're interested in. Now, some good things about group reviews, there's probably going to be less bias and more variety. Once again, it's an average, so it'd be a lot harder to have that bias because it would mean most of the group would have to vote one way, which would then mean there's not really a bias because it's a majority of the group. Now, some bad things about the verified group, probably going to be less consistent. You're probably going to get reviews less often, and it's probably less personal when it comes to a group review. Let's be honest, it's going to be a lot harder to relate to a group versus just an individual. Now, what's the difference between a small verified group like TK Gaming versus just mass public reviews? First thing about mass public reviews where they're open to everybody, you're going to get hate and hype ratings. If the game is overhyped, if it's overhated, it's absolutely going to boost or tank the scores. That includes review bombs. Obviously, when you have mass public reviews, bots, trolls, and all those types of people are going to play a factor. This is absolutely going to include console wars and studio or company stands and their haters. If it's a PlayStation exclusive, there's a good chance Xbox people may just go hate review it just because it's not on their platform, vice versa. And there's people that'll just ride or die for companies, and it does not matter how good or bad the game is upon release. There's absolutely no consistency. You could log on one day and the game's a 9.8 and you log on the next day and it's a 4.2. I feel like mass group reviews, mass public group reviews, just don't work. You almost have to go in and pick through the comments and kind of get an idea for yourself, which is what we were trying to avoid with TK Gaming. We're trying to be that trusted source where we are a small verified group review, and you're not going to have to go and do research on us and be like, well, do I trust these guys? I want to get to the spot one day. Once again, we have to earn it, but I want to get to the spot one day where our review comes out from TK and you're like, okay, yeah, I trust these guys' opinion. I mean, I don't have to agree with it, but I trust them. They did their research. They played the games. This is a legitimate review. And unbiased. Once again, unbiased. That's a huge thing for us. With that, I think I covered just about everything. I sure hope I did. It was a lot to cover. Once again, this is new for me, so I'm still trying to get used to it. I'm trying to get a little bit better. Hopefully I do over time. One more thing I want to note, we are absolutely open to new members joining TK Gaming. There's going to be a link in the bio where you can apply to potentially be a reviewer with us here at TK. If you already do your solo reviews, one big thing is we're going to try to promote each other via our TK accounts and our individual accounts just to kind of get people going in different directions. But also we want to get these monthly reviews going as a group. The only requirements are you have to be 18 plus and you have to have a Discord. There's a couple more requirements, but those are going to be the two big ones. You have to be 18, you have to have a Discord, and then you'll go through the review process. Once again, we're going to verify people. We're not just going to have random masses. We're not just going to have random accounts, anything like that. But we would absolutely love to have more members. This is about reviewing games. It's not necessarily about getting clicks. We don't want to be the biggest reviewer out there. We want to be the most trusted. Anybody can create a new account and just start posting clickbait, political gaming content. There's a lot of, just go on Twitter. Honestly, any account on Twitter that does gaming is basically that. Just about all of them. Not what we want to do. We want to post trusted reviews, trusted drama, all that stuff. But with that, man, I hope you guys are excited. I know I am. I really am. I really want to earn your trust here. And expect my first game review very soon. I actually completed it like 2 months ago, but I was waiting to make this video before I made that one public. And I've been slacking. Yeah, shocker, right? Spencer K. Slack. So with that, man, I do hope you guys enjoy. And I can't wait to see you in these reviews, man.